Hello everyone, my name is Jolene Schaefer, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, How to Manage Personal Protective Equipment Digitally While Complying with Health and Safety Quality Standards, presented by Kevin DeVici and Sam Watt of Bimser International. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees, as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment at the end of the presentation to answer our 2-question survey. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited Bimser International here today because they are the industry experts on quality, risk, audit, and compliance management software, as well as electronic business automation. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channel. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Kevin.
Thank you, Jolene, for introductions. Much appreciated. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kevin. I'm the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today, I have my colleagues with me, and we'll be talking about how to manage personal protective equipment, PPE in short, in a digital environment. We have been an SWK partner for a while. We are very happy to be in SWK ecosystem, and we have been very active in SWK's activities in various summits, conferences, and of course, these webinars are great opportunities, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for listening. First of all, I'd like to introduce our company, Bimser International. As Bimser International, we are based in New York, and we are an enterprise software maker since 1998. In a sense, we help companies adopt digital transformation and help them simplify their processes. We are very active in various business communities. American Society for Quality is one of them. We are very close to quality and compliance community. We follow the updates, news, notifications, and also we update our software products accordingly. I also like to mention that we have an internship program for university students. We call it University of Bimser International. We teach university students how to do pre-sales software engineering and software engineering in general. Nowadays, we run the internship program remotely due to COVID-19 crisis. So let's talk about our company a little bit before we jump into the subject. Let me introduce our company. We are an enterprise software maker, and we have global presence. In total, we are about 200 people. We are very active in various ERP ecosystems, Sage, Acumatica, SAP, Microsoft are some of them. Also, we are ISO 9001 certified and ISO 27001 certified. That means we have policies and procedures in place to make sure we have quality products and services every time we basically deliver. I also like to mention that we are backed by European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. They are one of our investors, so we have more visibility in international markets with the help of European Bank. Since 1998, we focus on these 4 products, EBA, BEAM, and Ensemble. Today, we'll be talking more about QDMS, our Quality, Risk, and Compliance Management System. We have right now more than 1,000 customers of QDMS. These are corporate customers. And at the moment, we have more than 1 million users of QDMS. So we have a lot of experience in quality management digitally for compliance, for health and safety standards. And we'll be talking more about, of course, today about PPE management for compliance and quality management. Some of our references on the screen, historically, we are coming from enterprise market. That's why we have a lot of reputable references, 3M, Ford, Hyundai, Bridgestone, Godiva, Chocolate are some of them, and we have many more, of course. We have thousands of customers. Since we have a lot of experience in enterprise market, now we bring this experience to mid-market, since our products are easy to use and they are scalable. So any company basically looking to grow with multiple locations and in a growing sense, our products are great choices to take advantage of our experience in enterprise markets while mid-market companies are growing and we are working with them. Okay, great. So let's talk about how to manage personal protective equipment, PPE. I'll refer today most of the time to comply with health, safety, and quality management standards. So let's remember that we comply in different industries with different standards. The most typical one and most universal one is ISO 9001, as we know it, as a quality management standard. And also there are many other standards, as you see on the screen, for different industries. That may be for aviation, aerospace, automotive, pharma, manufacturing, healthcare, maybe public sector, basically. So all these standards and requirements that may be FDA related, that may be OSHA related. So there are also regulations that is actually referring to health and safety of employees and also helping companies to manage their PPE based on their conditions, basically. So today we'll be talking about how to manage PPE in a digital environment. So that's based on what we have been seeing, what we have been learning from companies. That's what we have been reading based on FDA's guidelines, CDC's guidelines. So I encourage you to visit those websites of FDA as well as CDC. They have great guidelines for PPE management and use for employees, companies, and individuals. So when we look at how to manage PPE, basically we need to put together a program at our company, basically how to manage the PPE. It starts with defining it, as in how to manage, how to use, how to utilize PPE, basically. And it starts with actually risk analysis, and I'll talk about it in the next slide a little bit more. And based on the risk analysis, we need to decide what type of PPE we need, how to use it, how to train our team members accordingly, and also how to supply it regularly, because most of the PPE, personal protective equipment, are actually a one-time use. So you use it for a certain period of time and then you throw it, basically. And you need to supply this to team members, employees, workers periodically. So that needs to be also defined. The next section is training. So based on the definition, based on the PPE program that we put together, we need to train our team members, our employees, to make sure they are using it properly, they are maintaining it properly, to make sure that we follow the health and safety guidelines. And based on these two, then we need to follow up and we need to audit regularly to make sure PPEs are actually used according to the guidelines and also the policies and procedures that we put in place. Of course, just like any other program for quality and compliance management, there has to be performance criteria. And we need to also put a performance criteria accordingly. And finally, and we'll talk more about it also in coming minutes, is we need to also digitally transform our PPE management. Yes, of course, you can always manage it on paper, right? That is nothing against it. However, it's not manageable, it's not sustainable. So we basically talk about how you can utilize technology, how you can enjoy the benefits of technology to manage PPE, to comply with various quality and management standards. So how do we define a PPE program? It all starts with the risk assessment, especially nowadays because of the COVID-19 crisis. Risk assessment is more important than ever. And when we apply this to PPE management, it starts with risk assessment. This assessment may be based on the process, based on the unit or department in your company, maybe based on the environment. It also may be performed by for occupational health and safety risks that you may have, or maybe pandemic or disease risks that we may have. So all these things that we need to put on the table and think about it. This is kind of thinking about what may happen, the risks that we are facing is to think ahead. And anything that we do as for the risk assessment, we need to consider following. We need to consider protection of employees. We need to consider compliance with laws, regulations, standards, and guidelines. We need to also consider compliance with internal company guidelines that we may have. Also technical feasibility, that it needs to be realistic, it needs to be feasible, doable, and we can basically put it in action. So based on the risk assessment that we have that may be there may be different risks that you need to put into consideration. If you're a company, for example, if you're a chemical company, if you're a food company, if you are a pharma company, you may have different risks based on your process, based on your departments and units. So based on this risk assessment, we need to put together a contingency plan. And when we are putting together this plan, we need to consider our resources, risk factors, and we need to get a draft contingency plan as to policies, procedures, and protocols, basically. So all these basically, when we are doing, we need to make sure that all these activities that we are doing are actually recorded. So they are documented, and they are also basically accessible for team members, so that anything that we put together, anything that we study becomes the company record that we can always access later on. Based on the contingency plan, we need to put together the PPE program. We need to select the appropriate PPEs, the equipment that we may need for personal protection. We need to also put control points when we are using PPE, and also we need to set performance criteria. This is the first phase, as we know it, for defining how to manage the PPE in a company. So the next step is, once we have the definition of it, once we define our PPE program, we need to also put together a training. So this training, this education, needs to be performed either internally by our internal experts. Maybe some of our team members, our managers may have expertise to train team members, the workers for this, or we may basically get outside experts to perform any training on site. And once we start using the personal protection equipment, we need to also follow up to make sure team members are following the education, the training that we provided, and also again, all these trainings and also the practice and follow-ups needs to be documented. The idea is to basically document it, review it. We need to update it from time to time. We need to share it, and we need to remind our team members what type of policies and procedures we have in place for personal protective equipment use. And we need to do audits. This is also very common in the marketplace when we think about it. So we may put certain policies and procedures in place for certain activities. In this case, we are talking about personal protective equipment. So we need to audit internally. This can be typically a cross-auditing for different departments to audit each other. Sales department may audit production department may audit purchasing department, for example. That may be very helpful. That also needs to be documented and recorded for later review and also for updates later on. You can also get external experts, outside experts, to have external audits, basically. So there may be other experts that we can get their opinion after audits, basically, also from the company. And we need to also record these audits as well for later review and also updates. And now we basically have the measurements in place. So the performance measurements may differ from company to company. We may basically see it based on internal customer complaints that we have from our team members. We may have certain measurement criteria based on the internal feedback that we get, or depends on the industry that we are in. We can also look at the incidents that we have. Especially we see it in manufacturing, for example. There may be certain incidents, certain accidents, near miss, for example. All these recorded, and we can measure how many accidents we have, how many near miss we have, and we can compare it from one quarter to another quarter to see how we are doing as to our performance, as to PPE use, and also following the guidelines and the policies, basically. So this basically brings us to the last step in our list. In our step is digital transformation of quality management. So in the way that we look at it, basically, is that companies need to adapt their organizational strategy and structure to basically capture opportunities enabled by the technology for continuous improvement and for increasing customer satisfaction. That's how we are looking at it as for digital transformation of quality management. So there are benefits of it. By digitizing our quality management and PPE management activities, first of all, we become more competitive. We reduce costs because we basically enjoy the benefits of technology. Right now, if we are using technology and software products, for example, to manage PPE programs, we can also be more productive. We can reduce work accidents, we can reduce near miss, and also, of course, we can be more efficient in our activities. Also, let's keep in mind that all of us as companies, we comply with certain quality management and regulatory standards. So with the help of digital transformation in quality management, we can also be more compliant. We can be compliant more easily, basically, with less of an effort. That is an important benefit. And the way we look at it is with this framework. We call it a proactive management framework in quality management field. There is assurance, there is control, and there is predict. These three pieces, when we put them together, we believe any company can be very proactive managing quality management systems and business as a whole. So when we look at the assurance, that's basically the quality management system that you are complying with, or that is basically referring to the regulation that you are complying with. That may be OSHA, that may be FDA, there may be other standards. So that is basically the system that we are following based on your quality management system and based on the regulations that you are complying with. And that basically brings us to the control piece. Control is the control points that we put in our company when we are using PPE, when we are basically operating as a company. That we may be a manufacturing company, that we may be a service providing company. So we need to have certain control points to make sure we are following policies and procedures in place based on the quality management system that we have. Maybe ISO, maybe SQF, and other standards. And finally, we have the predict. That refers to the IoT devices that's available in the marketplace nowadays. So right now, you can, from where you are, you can remotely monitor your machinery, equipment. You can remotely monitor environment, temperature, humidity, based on your standards. As we know it in pharma, in food industry, these monitoring is very important, basically. If you don't have an IoT device in place, you need to go there and physically, basically, monitor it, which may be difficult, especially nowadays due to COVID-19 situation. So with the help of IoT devices, you can also predict what is coming, what is irregular, what is unusual in your machinery, equipment, or in your environment, simply. So these three pillars of quality management, we believe, is the foundation of digital transformation of quality management. And as for PPE management, while we are defining our PPE management program, that's basically referring to the assurance piece here in this framework. And there are of course control points that we need to also address in the name of making sure that we are actually following our guidelines. Also, we are also following our educational content that we provide to our team members in the training part of the PPE program, which is very important. So complying quality management standards and also being proactive in the marketplace to adopt digital transformation for quality management, we have a solution called QDMS. That's our quality, risk, audit, and compliance management software. I'd like to share brief information about quality management software that we have, QDMS. And then we'll show you live how you can manage your risks, how you can manage your audits, how you can manage your trainings, and how you can manage your personal protective equipment, PPEs, in a digital environment with no need of paper. So let me start with the capabilities of QDMS. Basically, that's basically designed to help you comply with management, quality, and regulatory standards in a digital environment with no need of paper. So that basically helps you have a paperless work environment. As I mentioned earlier, right now we have more than 1,000 customers, corporate customers, using QDMS, and more than 1 million users available, and these numbers are increasing. QDMS has a very modern technology, so it is ready to communicate and integrate with other systems, maybe your IoT device, your smart sensors, your equipment, for example. It is also able to integrate with your manufacturing execution system, your CRM system, your ERP system, so we can pull and push data. The idea is to have an integrated management system. So once we enter data from one of these points, QDMS can pick it up automatically without you entering it twice. So no need for double entry. That's very practical. And that also helps you have less errors in your quality and compliance management operations, which is great for quality managers. It's because if you don't have a system integrated, then quality teams needs to run from one department to another, collecting data for analysis and compliance purposes. With QDMS, you can comply with many different standards. You can comply with more than one standard, by the way. It's not only designed for one standard. You can comply with ISO 9001, you can comply with ISO 14000, SQF, or BRC if you are in food industry. If you are in pharma, medical device, healthcare industry, and if you are complying with FDA, you can also use QDMS to comply with many different standards and regulations at the same time. System is web-based, meaning once it's ready for you to use, you can access it from anywhere via web browser, just like connecting any other website, which is very practical. One of the advantages is it is modular, so you can pick and choose what module you like, which is very important. It is because there are different standards in the marketplace, right? So if you are a food company, for example, manufacturing certain food items, you may need food risk analysis as a module. But if I am a pharma company, I may not need that module, basically. So it all depends on the need basis. So it depends on what you need. You can pick and choose what you like. So one of the modules that also we'll talk about is PPE management. We'll talk about PPE management today. We'll talk about audit management as well as training management. I'd like to mention that one of the modules is called control document management. That is basically the module where you keep your records. As I mentioned earlier, any training program that you put together, any risk assessment that you put together, they need to be documented. So all these documentation records and being able to access those documentation anytime is available in the system to help you manage your quality management system as well as PPE programs in a digital environment. Okay, great. So so far I have introduced our company as Bimser International. I also talk about a typical PPE program development steps. We talk about define, train, follow up, as well as digital transformation of quality management. And I also talk about QDMS, our quality risk and audit management software on a high level. Now we'd like to show you in action how you can manage your risks, how you can manage your PPE program, how you can manage your trainings for PPEs for team members in a digital environment with no need of paper. I'd like to invite our pre-sales software engineer, Sam Watt, and he'll be showing us how one can enjoy the benefits of QDMS, how to manage PPE programs, trainings, and audits in a digital environment in QDMS. Sam, you ready?
Yes, I am. Okay. And can you see my screen?
Yes, looks great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. And thank you, Kevin, for the presentation, and thank you for joining today's webinar. This is Sam at Bimser International. So what you see on your screen now is the login homepage of QDMS. So after you log into the system, you can find all the pending tasks and the request for approval right on this home screen. So you can get a quick connection and start proceeding this task or requests right after you log into QDMS. It's make sure you will not miss any important task in with using QDMS. So for example, the document is waiting for your approval. So you can find this right here. And also today we will cover more on the risk assessment and also like audit. So I can find all of those notifications after I log into QDMS. On the top right, you can find the login username. So since I'm now logging in as the admin, so I have the full control of the system. And QDMS is a permission-based system. You will have the permission based on your profession, position, profession, department, or group. So now we can go to the main menu of QDMS. As I have the full control, I have the full list in my main menu. And first of all, I want to show you is the risk assessment module. And in this module, you can manage your risk assessment. For example, like we are in the chemical, we are a company in the chemical industry, so that we can have our health and safety risk assessment plan. So we can create a plan and then start adding the detail to this risk assessment plan. As you can see on the screen, so now we have carried out different risk assessment for different departments. For example, like production department or the shipping department. You can find different color as a light on your left. So this it shows you how likely it will happen in your company, and also the impact to your company. So when they're green, which means it's not likely to happen in your company, and the impact is just minor. And if it is yellow, so that you have to pay attention or to be cautioned to this risk that might be happen in your company, so that we can always add a new risk assessment. So for example, we can add a new area, like it is about the process that we have in our company. And this is, for example, like a risk assessment for, let's say, packaging department. Okay, and we can select the source of the risk. And what you can see in this list, it is configurable, which means you can always update or add or delete any item that you can see in this list. And you can also enter the impact of this risk, for example, like injury or employee injury. And then you can pick and choose the impact. For example, it is significant as the impact and how likely it's going to happen. So let's say very low. And then we will have a risk score based upon the data you enter in the system. And after that, we can save it. And this risk assessment item will be saved in the system. So now we have to enter, for example, this one. And there we go. Now we have a new record here as the risk assessment for packaging department. Okay. And we can always update the risk assessment based upon the situation or the operations in our company. And this QDMS will help you to manage the revision or the version number of your risk assessment. So let's say I'm coming back to the one that we just created and start the revision process. The version number now is 1 instead of 0, like the original record. So after we have the risk assessment and we want to put in the risk description, for example, like our PPE is always required during packaging, for example, then we can save this and it will be updated in QDMS. And now we want to train our employee to use the PPE. the personal protective equipment, so that we can find our training plan in the training module. You can always use the search bar provided on the top, and this is our PPE training. And after that, we can create the training item in for this planning, considering like the training planning is the goal that you want to achieve, and the item, they are the will be the milestone or the objective that help you to achieve your goal. So our goal is to achieve like the PPE training. So how we want to carry how we can manage for using the PPE, then we can create our training item here. As you can see, under this planning, we have a training like how to use the PPE, how to maintain the PPE. And we are going to create a new training item as well. So we can pick and choose the training and then the description of this training. For example, how to dispose of the PPE, for example. And then you can pick and choose the start date and end date and the training hour, also the training time. For example, it has happened from 2 to 4 in the evening. You can also enter the budget. It is for this particular training item. For example, it's $200. And if it is who will be the trainer, so I'm going to pick myself as the trainer and also myself as the training responsible party. And after that, the training item is ready. But there is a very important feature in QDMS is if this training item occurred periodically, so that you can check the periodic checkbox and enter the month it's happened or for the next training. So for example, it's happened annually, then we can enter 12 as the repeat period. If there is any additional document, can be a reference for the trainer and also the trainee, you can upload from your local drive. For example, we will have a picture, and then this document or picture will be attached with this training item. After that, we can save, and this training item will be ready in QDMS. So what's next is we have to invite the trainee to this training. So we can enter our pick and choose from our employee list. For example, I want to have Carol to join this training, and also, for example, Sam will be the trainee as well, so that we can add them to a list, and they will receive a notification on QDMS and also in his and her email inbox regarding this training item. Later on, after the training is complete, so that we can, as a trainer, we can perform our training and update the attendance list. We can pick and choose if they join the meeting, the training, and enter the participation date. You can always create your participation form as a reference for the trainee. Since they need this training, they have to join this training before they get their PPE for working in our company. For example, like for production and also for shipping. So now they complete their training, which means they're ready to get their PPE. And how we can assign the PPE in QDMS. So we can go to PPE module and give the PPE to that associate employee. So now, as you can see, we have a whole list of our employees who finished the training. And I want to pick and choose Carol and schedule or assign the PPE to this user. So we can pick and choose the PPE that we want to give to Carol, for example, like helmet, glove, and safety glasses, face mask, or face shield. And you can see here, we have a period for the for different PPE, which means they will be valid or to be usable in this period. Like helmet, you will not dispose it right after you use it. Actually, you have to return your equipment to the company or to associated department. But for face mask or face shield, you will do it. You will throw it right away after using it. So we can manage the period or the use period for different PPE in QDMS as well. So now I'm going to assign this PPE to Carol, and we can pick and choose the day she needed or she has to pick it up. So for example, it's on Friday, and the quantity for each PPE, like if it is one for each, okay, and then we can enter the reason why Carol needs this PPE. For example, like cleaning or maintenance or construction. So it's helped you to keep tracking what kind of PPE that the users use in your company, and also why they need this, why they need those PPE. Okay. After that, you can enter the description, for example, like some supporting information. For example, like for maintaining the manufacturing machine. Okay. Or I would say maintain the manufacturing machine. Okay. After that, we can save it, and this PPE will be assigned to Carol, and we can find this in a list as right here. So you can see what have been given to Carol, to this user, on what day, and what is the reason for those. Okay. So now, saying Carol, she picks up all the PPE and perform the task or her task. So now we can go to the audit module and see how she used with, or how what she do with the PPE that we are assigned or given to Carol. So that we can go to the audit module, which you can find all your audit planning to have the feedback from our employee internally or externally from like the vendor or supplier or subcontractor. So we have our audit planning, like the PPE audit, and we can find all the audit items in this planning. Again, the planning is like the goal that we want to achieve, and all the item is the objective that help us to achieve our goal. So we can create our audit item and enter the audit code and pick and choose the audit. For example, the audit for the PPE utilization. And then we can pick and choose the start date and the audit time that we want to talk with Carol. And the subject is the PPE audit, or I would say the audit for PPE utilization for maintenance purposes. Okay. After that, you can pick and choose the auditor, who will be the auditor, and I will pick myself as the auditor, and also who will be the auditee. As we in this example, we will choose Carol as the auditee because she is the one pick up and use the PPE in the company. And right here, we can always attach any document for as a reference for the auditor. So let's say that we have a PPE picture. So this is what she returned to the company. If there's they're in good condition or they're broken in a bad condition, then we can attach the picture right here as a reference while we are auditing Carol. After that, we can save it. And this record will be saved and created in the audit module, and Carol and also myself will receive a notification in QDMS and also in our email inbox, so that we can have our have the feedback from Carol and record it in QDMS. Another thing is helped you in this audit module is you can always pick and choose the question as a reference for the auditor. So for example, we can pick and choose the question that we want to ask Carol, and then record the answer from Carol in our system. So it's helped you to do it in a digital environment and get it to be paperless with using QDMS. You don't have to prepare like 5 pages of question and answer on your paper, or even on your Excel sheet. You can manage all of those in audit management module with in QDMS. So this is how we can manage our PPE in QDMS. And as I mentioned, you can always find the notification in QDMS. So we can find the audit that I have to perform as the record we just created. Since we just create an audit for, if you remember, like this is for the PPE audit. So I can always find all the pending audits that we have right on my home screen. Also, you can use QDMS on your handheld device. So which means you will be ready to have your audit or manage your PPE or your risk assessment every day at any time, at anywhere. So this is my handheld device. I'm going to put this on the screen. And this mobile application is available for Android and iOS device. So you can download it from your Google Play Store or the App Store for your iOS device, like your I would say, for example, for your iPhone, iPad, it is available for smartphone and tablet as well. Okay. So right here, you can see it is my screen, and it is Android device. Open the main menu here, excuse me, and find the same setup that we have in our web browser. So 1 second, you cannot see this. Okay, so excuse my internet speed. It's going to come up to your screen. Okay, now it is getting to the, can see this. Okay, so we can find the main menu like document management, corrective action, and also the one that I demonstrate, for example, the risk assessment module. Right here, my little finger or my cursor is pointing at. Okay, and then we can have our risk assessment, of course. and the whole main menu that you can see on the web browser. And this is the pending task right after I log in on my mobile application. It's come to the end of my demonstration. Thank you very much.
I'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the question section of your GoToWebinar, and we'll give that a minute in case any come through. And we do have a couple that came through during the presentation. So the first is, what is the pricing of Bimser software?
For the pricing, I think we can have an offline conversation because the pricing is basically based on modules. So it depends on what module you like. We basically price it.
And then another that came through, what does the implementation process look like?
Implementation process is basically the way that we basically design QDMS is to help you reflect your QMS system, quality management system, into QDMS. Eventually, that's the tool that's going to help you comply your quality management standards in a digital environment. So we start with your QMS system. We understand how you are running your quality management system in your company, and we reflect it. First with moving your master data, customer information, product information, your vendor information, and your quality management standards requirements into QDMS. And then we basically put the rules based on your current quality management system into QDMS. And then we basically help you understand how you can admin the system in a digital environment. That's basically the training part of the implementation. And once we train the admins, and once we train you properly, you can run QDMS yourself. Also, you can train your team members as well as end users. That's basically the short answer.
Wonderful. Well, that's all the questions that look like they've come in. So thank you so much, Kevin and Sam, for your informative presentation, for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.